Characters in Dungeons & Dragons are heroes, either martial masters, cunning experts, or magical powerhouses. But what were they before they answered the call to adventure? On today's D&D Academy, we're delving deep into a character's heroic origins by covering backgrounds. Welcome back to D&D Academy. My name is Paul, and I'm the Dungeon Master here at House of Crit. Characters in Dungeons & Dragons are heroes who brave the dangers of the unknown and face down overwhelming threats. But what were they before they got started? Every story has a beginning, and thus every character has a background. A character's background reveals where they came from, how they became an adventurer, and their place in the world. A fighter might have been a courageous knight or a grizzled soldier. A wizard could have been a sage or an artisan. The rogue might have gotten by as a guild thief or commanded audiences as a performer. A character's background provides important story cues about a character's identity. The most important question to ask about a character's background is, what changed? Why did they stop doing whatever their background describes and start adventuring? Where did they get the money to purchase their starting gear? Or, if they come from a wealthy background, why don't they have more money? Or, why are they even adventuring at all? Ultimately, what sets this character apart from the ordinary people who stay behind when the adventure comes calling? Backgrounds in D&D are groupings of story ideas for a character's origin, as well as 4 components that frame a character's persona. These 4 components are personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Personality traits might describe things a character likes, their past achievements, things the character dislikes or fears, the character's attitude or mannerisms, or the influence of their ability scores. A character's ideals are the things they believe in the most strongly, the fundamental moral and ethical principles that compel them to act as they do. Ideals encompass everything from life goals to a character's core belief system. Bonds represent a character's connections to people, places, and events in the world. They tie them to things from their background. They might inspire them to heights of heroism or lead them to act against their own best interests if they are threatened. They can work very much like ideals, driving a character's motivations and goals. And finally, a character's flaw represents some vice, compulsion, fear, or weakness. In particular, anything that someone or something could exploit to bring them to ruin or cause them to act against their best interests. All of these aspects of a background are the key components to role-playing a character. When playing D&D, you can easily look at a situation in the game and know how you'd react. But role-playing truly begins to happen when you start to see the situations in the game through the eyes of your character and think, how would they react to this situation? Looking at your character's traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws allows the personality of the character to manifest in your mind, and when you step into their shoes and see the game world through their eyes, you've started role-playing. Thinking as your character, especially a character who is different than you are, is the heart and soul of the game, and for me, it's the place where the real magic at the table happens. Chapter 4 of the Player's Handbook is all about personality and background. Starting on page 125, you'll find all the information on creating a custom background for your character. If this is your first time doing this, I recommend instead using one of the pre-made backgrounds found in here. Not only do they give you skill proficiencies, languages, starting equipment, and features, they also give you tables to roll on to create your character's traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Let's make one together so I can show you just how quick and simple this is. Let's say I'm making a fighter who is a grizzled veteran who is now striking it out on their own. Looking at the backgrounds, I see on page 140 that there's a soldier background listed, which would make sense for this character. This background gives me proficiency with athletics and intimidation, as well as one type of gaming set and land vehicles like carts and wagons. Makes sense for a soldier who is a trained warrior and rough around the edges and likes a game of chance during their downtime. It also gives me the feature of a military rank which might be tied into the game world, and that's something I'd have fun fleshing out with my Dungeon Master. Looking now at the suggested tables of characteristics, I first need to roll for 2 of their personality traits. Rolling a d8, I first get a 3. This says, I've lost too many friends and I'm slow to make new ones. Sounds like a good start, so I roll again and I get a 1, which says I'm always polite and respectful. This sounds about right, as they're from a military organization and is probably used to a chain of command. Already, I can get a feel for who this person is. They're polite, respectful, and slow to get close to people as they've lost friends in the past, probably in a war. You can start to get a picture in your mind already of who this person is, just off those 2 sentences. Let's next roll for their ideal. I roll a d6 and I get a 5. Live and let live. Ideals aren't worth killing over or going to war for. Neutral. This deepens our picture of this person even further. They prize letting people be, probably from their wartime experience, and lean towards being of a neutral type of alignment, which is what's listed in parentheses. But are they lawful neutral, neutral good, chaotic neutral, or even neutral evil? No idea yet. But our picture of this person is becoming clearer. Now I'll roll for their bond, which is also a d6 table. I roll and I get a 6. I fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. So they're a hardened soldier who has lost people they care about. And through what they've experienced, they've chosen to be a person who fights for others who can't defend themselves. This, at least to me, sounds like a good person. Someone who would choose a life of a hero. So, through these characteristics, I would venture to say this character's alignment is actually neutral good. But no one is without a flaw, and now we get to find out what theirs is. Rolling a d6 one more time, and I get a 4. My hatred of my enemies is blind and unreasoning. So this person, a heroic champion who defends the defenseless, holds a perilous hatred in their heart that could cause them to act rashly, possibly putting themselves and their allies at risk should they be forced to face these particular enemies. And so, with only a few rolls of the dice, this entire character's persona just sprang to life before us, illustrating just how easy it is to discover a character's origins. And this covers the basics of backgrounds in Dungeons & Dragons. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if this video and the others in this series have helped you, please consider giving us a thumbs up below and subscribing to the channel. If there are any future topics that you would like for us to cover, or just want to let us know how we're doing, please drop us a comment down below. We read every one of them and appreciate every bit of feedback we get. I'll be back next week with our next D&D Academy video, so I'll see you all here soon.